Woo! Wow, dude, sorry for the jump scare. This is, after all, the first time in over a year that I've been completely clean shaven. And it was an accident, don't worry. I was attempting to put on my mustache for a special occasion, and then I accidentally shaved it a little too, it was a little narrow, right? I misfired. It was a little crooked, and then if I was going to level it out, it was going to be a little narrow. We don't want to be sending the wrong signals here, so we ended up just taking it all off. So this is what I look like under the carpet, under the rug, behind the scenes. This is the BTS version of Zealand. And I also am recording this right after I woke up. So bear with me. We're not going to have the same sort of coherent flow of thought, but something that absolutely needs to be discussed, because I've seen a lot of people misunderstanding it. And I actually feel like I maybe, I don't know. I haven't had time to consult other people's opinions on this. I think I might have a take on this that's a bit different than everybody else, because Liverpool is obviously not doing well, right? Liverpool has fallen. They are now 5 points off Arsenal. If Manchester City wins their 2 matches in hand, as I'm recording this before they play Nottingham Forest, then they'll be 6 points behind Man City with 3 matches to go, right? They're basically out of the title race. And there was a quick succession of matches that did that. Liverpool had lost 2 matches all year. They went and lost to Crystal Palace, which is not a good look. They come back and they win, and then they play the Merseyside derby against Everton. And in that match, Liverpool started a very normal team. And we're building up to an explosion that has a lot of people talking into the whole Mo Salah thing. That's where we're headed, right? But Liverpool plays against Everton and starts a very normal-looking team, right? A front 3 of Diaz, Nunez, and Salah, McAllister and Szoboszlai in the midfield, Trent, Konate, Van Dijk, Robertson, all the way through, right? Just very normal team. They go out, they play against Everton, and they get beat, right? It's an all-time moment for Everton, at least in the last decade. They have cinched their safety and basically eliminated Liverpool's title hopes just like that. Right, I mean, this put them 4 points behind a Manchester City that wins all their matches in hand. Devastating result for Liverpool. No way to sugarcoat it, no way around it. This is a devastating result. You saw it on Trent's face after the game. And as a result of that, Jurgen Klopp actually sought out some really significant changes. And that was the fuel to a lot of the fire that ended up happening on the touchline. Because if you look at the lineup for the next match, Liverpool went in a bit of a different direction, right? We've got Gravenberch in the team. We've got Gakpo. We've got Harvey Elliott. We've got Jarell Quansah. There is an absence of Darwin Nunez. There is an absence of Mo Salah. And then according to this Mirror article, right, because I was not watching the warm-ups before the Liverpool-West Ham game, as a result, Mo Salah was looking pretty dour during the pregame warmups. His sulky body language and furious facial expression told its own story as he stood alongside his fellow substitutes. He could not have looked more disinterested if he tried, as he lethargically flicked the ball with his toe during Liverpool's pre-match rondo. And if you're thinking you've got a player like Mo Salah on the bench, you're going to bring him in immediately, no. This was Jurgen Klopp being, in my opinion, a great manager and making a statement, because Liverpool had been sleepwalking through its last couple of games. So he makes a major change. He leans on some of the young talent at Liverpool, and he rests some players, in particular Mo Salah, that would assume that they were undroppable in the team. And Liverpool goes down. We still don't see Mo Salah, right? This game starts and Liverpool goes down and we don't see Mo Salah. Jared Bowen scores in the 43rd minute out of the second half. Andy Robertson then an own goal, and Liverpool's got a 2-1 lead. And then finally, after Mikel Antonio, the Jamaican levels things for West Ham. That is when we see Mo Salah get up and get ready to come in, right? Is part of a wave of substitutes that also includes Darwin Nunez, who'd been yanked from the team after his performances in the last couple of matches, right? And it's well documented, right, that they'd been struggling to score. I mean, you follow the XG Philosophy Twitter account, or you're at least aware of it. And in every one of those, each of those 2 losses against Crystal Palace and Everton, Liverpool had a ton of XG, right? That's not the end-all be-all. It's a mistake if people pretend that it is. But if you have a bunch of XG and you're not scoring, it's probably the forward's fault. Guys like Darwin Nunez and Mo Salah, right? Those are the people whose fault it's going to be. And so eventually he decides to sub them in. And then we see something we've literally, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'd never seen at Liverpool. But Mo Salah is set to sub in for what's essentially going to be the last 10 minutes of the game. And Jurgen Klopp walks over to him and says something. And you can see based off the reaction in the background, right? I actually didn't watch this match. I got sent all this stuff afterwards, right? But you can see by the reaction in the background, that something has happened. This is in the London Stadium where West Ham's playing. And so Jurgen Klopp sees something in this event that's just happened, and he goes to tell Mo Salah about it. And Mo Salah, who's apparently been upset the entire time, basically goes, "What, you want me to do something now? What, you want me to, we have no idea what they actually said," right? There's a lot of funny interpretations of what they actually said, but I have looked. There doesn't seem to be any indication about what this conversation was about, but I don't think the words were really important here. I think this conversation was about the vibe. Mo Salah doesn't like the fact that Jurgen Klopp pulled him out of the starting lineup and then is throwing him in with, less than 10 minutes to go to try and fix everything. That would be Mo Salah's perspective. But if you're looking at it from Jurgen Klopp's perspective, the team that he'd rolled out had lost, they'd lost 2 of their last 3 league matches to Crystal Palace and Everton. This is a team that had lost 2 matches in the Premier League all year before that 3-match run, right? And even the 1 match they played that they won, I believe it was against Fulham, and it was not particularly comfortable, right? So this was a statement move by a guy that's been a really good manager for a long time. The funny thing is I don't blame either of these guys. I think that if you're playing at this level, right, and you're making the tough decisions that you're going to have to make, this sort of thing is inevitable. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's a sign of rot that Jurgen Klopp is leaving, but they really do get into it. I mean, Mo Salah is essentially saying, well, now you need me to come in and fix everything, and Jurgen Klopp gets his point across, and Darwin Nunez actually has to step in. I mean, Mo Salah is not known as being the type of guy that's going to be involved in this kind of nonsense, right? He has not built up a reputation like that. This would be completely different if it was somebody, if this was Zlatan sitting over there that was getting involved in this type of tomfoolery, or a Sergio Ramos type, somebody that is known to be involved in louder conversations. The fact that this was Mo Salah, I think, caught a lot of people off guard. The fact that this is happening while Jurgen Klopp's in a farewell tour caught a lot of people off guard. But I give Jurgen Klopp a ton of credit for not rolling into his farewell tour by just playing the same guys. Jurgen Klopp's trying to win, right? He put together the team that he thought gave him the best chance to win, and that really hurt Mo Salah, because Mo Salah has been a great player for Jurgen Klopp for a long time, right? And if you were a great player, you'll never meet a great player that likes to be benched, right? You'll never meet a great player that likes to be told that they're not doing well enough, right? And Mo Salah obviously was upset about that. But Jurgen Klopp was upset that they lost 2 of their last 3 matches and just gone plummeting out of the title race altogether. Now, the funny thing is the substitution did not end up mattering, right? We have a 2-2 final between West Ham and Liverpool. That did not change. Mo Salah was not able to affect the game towards the end of it. And then he decided, while he was walking out of the tunnel, to say this. He says, as he's walking by the gaggle of reporters, they're asking to interview him, obviously, because it happened on the touchline in front of millions of people watching on TV. They wanted to ask about Mo Salah's tiff with Jurgen Klopp, and he says, there's going to be fire if I speak today. And then one of the media members says, fire? And he's like, of course. I think that people also took exception to this. I saw certain pundits that were really bent out of shape that he would actually say this while he was walking by the press gaggle. I don't see the issue with this at all. Isn't the whole rule that if you're really upset, count to 100 and then speak? If you speak right after you get really upset in one of these situations, you're so much more liable to say something you don't mean, to get yourself in more trouble, right? And I feel like he's kind of insinuating that when he says, of course. Right? The guy goes, fire? And he just, yeah, obviously. We just had a tough draw. I just got in this big, big argument. I think this is super reasonable, right? But if he walks by and says nothing, right, which I guess is your other option, you walk by and say nothing, then the speculation's probably more rampant, right? But that would be the other move. Obviously, the one thing you don't want to do is actually sit there and speak. But if you just walk by, look at the ground, and don't even acknowledge them, I feel like you're going to lead to even more speculation than if you say, look, if I speak right now, there's going to be fire. Fire? Yeah, obviously. There's gonna be fire if I speak on this. But I don't think anybody's in the wrong here. I think it's just part of the sport, right? Because the manager's going to do what the manager thinks is best for the team, right? And the best players on that team, if they get rotated out because they're just not playing well or they had a bad few games, they're going to be freaking upset about it. right? And I think Jurgen Klopp, if we go back to this replay, Jurgen Klopp knows this. Like, he says a little something. He's trying to give a little tactical instruction. And Mo Salah keeps talking. And Jurgen Klopp is talking back to him for a little while, and he just kind of nods. And then he just keeps nodding to everything that Mo Salah is saying. Right? He backs off. He lets Mo kind of get the steam out. Right? Because there's no way Jurgen Klopp, being the manager that he is, the excellent man management manager that he is, he knew Mo Salah was mad. Maybe he's even trying to poke the bear here, but if the guy on the Mirror is writing eloquently about the disinterest and lethargy of Mo Salah's warm-up, Jurgen Klopp knew. Jurgen Klopp totally knew what was going on in this situation. And there is maybe a part of him that he wanted to piss Mo Salah off so that he could go out and run rampant against West Ham. Obviously, that didn't work, but there's a million little things that a manager can do in those sorts of situations. I know there's always stories of the world-renowned best man manager Sir Alex Ferguson doing similar stuff. But there's nothing wrong. I see nothing wrong with this from any angle. And I applaud Jurgen Klopp for not just coasting into the sunset, 100%, because I would totally do that.